Awesome. So I want to welcome you all. Such a warm welcome from me. And oh my goodness, I feel really blessed tonight because we have got the horsey people and also the not non-horsey people, but the maybe horseless people, maybe the animal people. We've got everyone in between. Yes, Ebru. And I feel like it's such a beautiful coming together of humankind in a small way to celebrate, you know, what animals really have to give to us. And that's what we're going to be exploring today. That is the magic that we're going to be creating tonight is we all have connected with animals in different way in our lives, and I'm going to take you through a little exercise in a moment just to kind of cast your mind and think about those that have connected with you in some way. Maybe it was a fleeting moment, maybe it was an animal of your own, perhaps, they're still with you. And I really feel like what the world needs right now is to reconnect with all the lessons we already have within us, but that we've forgotten along the way. And that the animals, they are here to bring them back to us if we are brave enough to listen and if we are open enough to listen, and especially that of the horse, which we are going to be exploring tonight. So I want to welcome you all. And as Ebru says, so true. The chat is there on the Zoom. Don't worry if you can't figure it out. But I really want this to be a connective workshop to, share your thoughts as they're popping up, to really feel like this is a safe space for you to just tap into whatever lesson is going to land for you is the perfect one today. And I invite you, no matter how many animals you currently have, a lot of us horses, or our perspective of animals right now, to take a step back and to just create some space, because we see the world from our perspective and we have our own views and our own perceptions, our own memories and everything. That tonight I really invite all of us, including myself, to step back and just allow there to be a space for something to land. And it might be something you thought you knew, but it just lands in a different way. And there are so many lessons that we could explore tonight, so many ways we could go with it. Anyone who knows me knows if you plonk me on anywhere and just say talk, I'll be there. I could be there forever. So we're just going to explore some of the ones that I feel are the most important, and that if the horses could be here themselves and speak this through us, perhaps these are some of the ones that they would choose for us humans to start to unravel and unlock within ourselves. And I'm also joined by the beautiful Vicky, who is the most wonderful human, and she's also going to be sharing a little bit later on about her work with the horses and some of the incredible transformations that she has seen in people of all ages, of all backgrounds, because of the lessons that they bring forwards for us. So we're very lucky to have her today. And I invite you now to take a breath wherever you're at. Don't worry, for those of you who have had workshops with me, I'm not going to make you dance. But just take a moment, because it's disappointed. Take a moment, and I want you to have your mind find an animal that made a difference to you. What is the animal that has had the greatest impact on you? It might be many, but go with that one that feels the strongest. And just hold them for a moment. And what did they show you? What did they connect you with? And what did they help you remember? It may be a specific animal, you know, maybe an animal that crossed your path, maybe a pet, or maybe you don't even know their name, or perhaps it's just an animal in general. But hold them with you this workshop and imagine that they're speaking through to you to help you remember something within you that's always been yours, that you are ready to rediscover. Take a big deep breath. Thank them. And when you're ready, wiggle your toes, shake your hands out, take your shoulders out, and come back to the room. And the reason why I wanted to do that is because we can forget the animal, or that really had the greatest impact on us, and how profound that was, and that it sometimes feels like coming home and you can't describe why. And I also wanted to tie it into a little bit of why we're here tonight, and a little bit of my journey as well, and why why am I delivering these messages? Why am I lucky enough to be sat here with you all and sharing this together? And for me, that animal was the horse. And I connected with horses when I was about 2 or 3, and I remember how they just felt like this big soul that had so much power and yet saw me exactly how I was. And I've got a picture of me as a little child just reaching up this massive horse, and I felt so safe and so in awe, and it was like the whole world disappeared. And that is what these animals can bring us, that is within us all. And the purity and the presence and the power, it really just touched something in me, I think, that ignited something that was already there, that's already within us all, and just basically put me on a whole journey of following that feeling. And then the humanness happened. So when you think about that, that moment that you connected with that animal, however old you were, maybe you're a child, what happened in between? And I wanted to bring this because it was so relevant to what we're talking about. And if you would like to, if you feel drawn to, please do share, the animal or name of that special soul that you connected with in the chat. It'd be really awesome to see that from everybody, if it feels good to do so. If you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. And the humanness happened. So we grew up, we were domesticated, we fit in with the human world that we were put into. And all of a sudden, I found myself angry, frustrated, impatient. I was explosive. And the way I was taught with these beautiful horses was to control them and to be in fear with them, because I was scared of them being out of control and therefore me being out of control. And I went on this whole path where I was taught to, hit them if they did the wrong thing, or pull them tight and kick them to go. And actually, the more I spent time with these beings, the more I felt my own stuff come up. It was like seeing yourself, but also not being able to fully embrace that, because the human world that we live in is very much that of, we are in a bubble of control, of domestication, and that sets us apart from the animals that help us rediscover our wild and meet our mammal within, which is why we're all here today. So we've got my horse Pandora. I love that, Lauren. Alan, oh my goodness, my miniature horse changed my life and saved my life. I owe him everything. I love that. I connected with Steve the horse, Buddy the dog, Maximus and Matilda, and my Maine Coon cats. Oh, I love this, guys. They've all got such amazing names. I love it. Maximus, oh my goodness. And then on that journey, I had a realization that the horses brought me, which was, oh, we've got a cat in the picture. I love it. She's in the universe. She's in the stars. That you're shown a mirror. And for those of you who have done a workshop with me, you'll know I'm all about that mirror, that we have a choice that animals give us to meet our mammal inside and to embrace what we really are, which is that, we have that capacity for care, patience, compassion, and yet we aren't in an environment that necessarily nurtures it. And I went on a whole journey of just being fascinated with unlearning what we had learned that separated us from the animals that we all deeply, deeply connect with and resonated with. And why are we so separate and yet so connected? And that is why we're here today, because it took me on a whole journey of learning lots of psychology, learning all the left brain stuff, all the information in a very human way. And yet I didn't know how to live it. I didn't know how to experience it. I didn't know how to bring that into my life, which is what the animals and the horses teach us. Is not just about understanding the names and the theory and the why, but living it. They've never been to university, and yet they can teach us more than we have ever known. And that's why I became an equestrian relationships coach. So that is why I believe that we all need to come home to ourselves. We all need to feel safe within our being, within our bodies, so that we can be a safe space for those around us, for the humans around us, for the horses around us, for the animals around us. And that is why we're here today. So I want us to explore the lessons. What are the main lessons? I love that Hebrew says, she's really resonating. What are the lessons that we can take care of and remember from these animals that are in the human world, where we expect them to cope with the infrastructure, with the control, with the limitations, with or everything human that we have created? We've put the animals inside, and yet they still remind us of who we are and the wildness that I truly believe we need to reconnect to in order to change the world, to save the world, so that we're not putting our humanness onto wild, and yet we're becoming the wild within the humanness. So that brings us on to lesson 1 of the horse, which is, you have a wildness in you that needs to be nurtured. And this is something, if you've, throughout your path in this world, you've probably felt many instances where you've had to shut down intuition, perhaps make yourself feel smaller, maybe even override those sensations in your body that are telling you something important, that you want to escape, that you want to react, that you want to just that inner knowing that is very much in experience. And therefore, when we shut that down, we stop our wildness coming through. So we stop those voices of knowing come up. We put ourselves into boxes. We feel like we've got to play small. Our relationships with others are difficult. And that is one of the greatest lessons that our horses have for us, is that's why we can connect with them on such a deep level, is because we are all mammals. And mammals is kind of, if anyone's heard that term before, of it's kind of seen as a bad thing, as like that primal part of us, that reactive part of us, that part of us that is uncontrollable and, you know, unquantifiable. And it kind of scares humans a little bit, right? That kind of the wildness within the horses. That's why we have put so much into domesticating them, into their, you know, bits and all this kind of stuff, is because we're really scared of the wildness within us. And what our mammal really is knowing what is really important to us. And that is relationship. So our mammal part of our body, which, well, we are mammals, is our emotions. It is our capacity to connect with another. It is that part of us that only feels safe and seen when we feel safe and seen. And we forget that. We're now in a place where we feel like we can get all the connection we need. We are really individuals. And yet the horses remind us that underneath it all, we are a tribe, we are a herd. We need to connect with others. We need to feel that within our soul for our bodies to relax, for our nervous systems to regulate, for our bodies to heal, for us to sleep, for us to feel safe. And I think that's so profound and so simple, yet so life-changing. Who resonates with this? Yeah, awesome. And our whole nervous system is wired for connection. And yet we forget. And we are amazing as humans as going here and saying, oh, I shouldn't feel this because ... Or, well, you know, I shouldn't feel anxious because ... Whereas actually the mammal in us is telling us something that we need to hear, we need to listen to, we need to nurture. And that's what our horses offer us, is when we really nurture our relationship with our horses, it touches something so deep within us that it goes beyond words, and it goes beyond the control. It goes beyond the feeling safe because you have a hold on things. And actually, the connection between two beings is the safety. It is what calms you down. It is what brings you back. And that is lesson one, which I think it floored me when I first heard it, because I was like, yeah, I know, you know, relationships are really important. They're great. But then I was like, oh, relationships are more important than food to our bodies. They're more nurturing than food and water. So that, how cool is that? Awesome. Is everyone with me so far? Great. Take a breath, guys, as well. So lesson 2. And in all these lessons, I want you to just think about how they relate to you, how they connect with you. And that feeling that we thought of in the beginning, what that touches in you. And lesson 2 is horses teach us that true communication goes beyond words. And when I when I think about this, we're like, well, obviously, like that's an obvious one, Kat. But is it? Because we think, even with our horses, we're like, yeah, we communicate through body language, we put our hand like this and they do this, and we put our head this way and they do that. And I thought I had that down. I totally thought I had that lesson down. And then I started learning about the nervous system and how, as mammals, we have this reciprocity between us through our nervous systems, that if I'm hanging out with you, I know how you're feeling because my nervous system is connecting to yours. And my mammalian part of me is already sussed out the whole situation. If you're feeling safe, if you're not feeling safe, what your body's saying, what your eyes are saying, what your breath is saying, what your shoulders are saying, what your heart rate is saying. And also, what emotions are flowing through you right now? What energy is flowing through you right now? And that is the real communication. It's so unspoken. And actually, it's often so unintentional that we don't realize we're communicating. And this one also really floored me, because I was like, hang on, you're saying I can't control how people receive my energy when I think I'm okay and I want the whole world to think I'm fine. That then when I show up and I'm 100 miles an hour, they feel that. That's really rude. I don't like that at all. And in the horses, they feel it. They feel it like air in us, because that's what they're designed to do. Not only are they mammals, but they're also super connective, super intuitive. Their whole beingness is designed on syncing up with those around them, assessing when they're safe, when they're not safe. What's the predator doing here? What's my herd members doing here? And all of this goes without a word being spoken. And it really put into perspective how much we've got lost in the human world with spoken language, and how so much can be said without it. And yet how much we feel like we need to control through our voice. And I had an example of this today, which was so amazing, where I was working with a horse and one lady picked up the rope and wanted them to go backwards. And because she wasn't quite clear in what she was doing, the horse was going backwards like this. And it was like, there was nothing wrong. But it was just so interesting to observe, because where there was the fear about not getting it wrong, about wanting to put them in a certain position, there was a little bit of agitation there. And the horse sensed that on the other end of the rope. And then, because I was on the outside and I could come to it from a very different place, I picked up the rope and I just had the image in my mind, the intention. I breathed and she just went, "Oh, I'm with you." And I did nothing. I just had that presence in myself, and it was a completely different, and that's happened to me as well when I'm in a lesson and my coach has picked up the rope and I've been like, hang on, they didn't want to do that with me a second ago. And she's like, well, yeah, because your energy was everywhere. You didn't know what you were feeling, where you were going. And actually, the communication is not about the thing. It's not about the technique. It's not about the words. It's about everything underneath the words. Does that resonate with everyone? Yeah, awesome. Awesome. And connection is an experience. It's shared between two beings, and it's a dance. And it can be messy, and it's not that it's always feeling great, or it's not that it's always looking pretty. And being able to turn loose to that and go, it's okay. Sometimes the communication between two beings is is a hot mess. And that's okay. It's that dance, it's that interaction between that. That's what our horses have to bring us. If you've watched horses in the wild, you can see that there's messages going to and from horses across the fields who seem miles apart, or there might be a little scuffle or a fight or all kinds of things, but it's all interweaving. There's a dance behind it. And when our horses lose that is when they come into the human world and we've forgotten our wild. And so we almost help them forget theirs. And my mare's like that. She really struggles with communication because she's experienced this human world and our trauma around communication and connection. And you can see it in them, and how an animal who is so, that's their whole being, is their herd. That's their whole safety, their whole community. And the humanness in us all, and and it's nothing against the humanness, it's just about bringing the lessons that they need to give us in order to start changing how we are understanding ourselves, and that will flow through us into the outside world. Amazing. So lesson 3 is who we really are goes so far beneath who we think we are. And this one, oh my goodness, this one saved my life. Quite literally, because the pressure of the human world means that we put ourselves into boxes and we judge ourselves based on the boxes that we put in because of the systems that we're in. And the moment that you meet a horse, it's as if none of those boxes exist. And I experienced this when I was doing my exams, my GCSEs, and as a perfectionist, overachiever, overstressor, and I was like, if I don't pass these, I will genuinely die, which we know looking back is a bit overdramatic. But in the moment, it was my whole experience, because everything around me was saying, if you aren't this, or this, or this, or this, you're not worthy as a human. And, if we think about all of the pressures of life, if we really think about all the pressures of life, if we stripped it back, what would really be there? Take money out of it. Take time out of it. Take deadlines out of it. Take, the stress of fixing the house out of it. Take that, potential promotion at work, or arguments with your co-workers, or all of these things. Take that out of it. Who are you? And it so floored me, because I was like, okay, so I'm a this grade student and I like, this, and I'm going to be this when I grow up. And actually what my first pony offered me was a real dressing down, firstly, because he was like, hun, just because you got an A star yesterday does not mean that you're showing up to me with any kind of compassion or presence right now. Like, get over yourself, firstly. And second, when I was having one of those days where everything I was comparing myself to was one of those boxes, he just said, whoa, I don't care about that. We don't care about that. All we care about is who you are in this moment right now. Are you listening? Are you open to connection? Are you present? Are you peaceful? Are you free? Or are you not? And are you being true to your emotions? Are you moving things? And it's not to put pressure on ourselves to be any of those things either, because that can be another box we put ourselves in. But it's going, oh, it goes so far beyond labels. Our horse doesn't even know what a label is. And that's why they're such deep teachers and guides because they see you and they see you exactly who you are. And we don't even see who we are half the time. Amazing. Has anyone ever had an experience like that? Even if it's fleeting, even if it is like you have connected with it and it's like a passing in the wind, and then all of a sudden you're off, and it's normal, it's normal life, we can't all of a sudden say, well, actually, boss, Kat said that I just need to take all the stress of deadlines out of it. I don't need to turn up to work on time. No, unfortunately, we are still in the human world, but it's about meeting your mammal with love and then coming back into the world with a new perspective and a new appreciation for who you are as a soul and a being, and meeting your horse, your partner, your friends, yourself there. And that's really hard. I still really struggle with it. It's a lesson that we will always try and unlearn for the rest of our days. But it's a seed and it's a place of safety, a soft place to land, that when you're having those moments, it's taking that step back and going, okay, let's meet myself here. And how would my horse see me? And I often think, if you think about our animals or our horses, 23 hours of the day, or however many hours they are without you, they're just chilling. They're in nature, they're listening to the birds. They might be a bit stressed or whatever's going on in their life. They're just eating, being, birds on their back, maybe. Birds pooing on their back, maybe. I've never been that present that a bird's pooed on my back. And then we arrive. And what do we bring? Yeah, me too, Hebrew. And actually, it's often a flurry of all sorts. And it really makes me laugh because our experience is our experience. We forget that our experience isn't our horse's experiences, and our horse's experience of us is not our experience. And yeah, just let that one land. Because yeah, it's a really, really big lesson. So I want you to take a breath, shake it out. And any emotions that are coming up right now, just allow them, allow the humanness. Oh, and that brings us on to the next lesson, which is, it's quite a long one actually. I should have maybe paraphrased this one. Our body speaks for us. It carries emotions. It remembers everything. It is a visceral experience that we can't think our way out of. And what do I mean by that? When I did my psychology degree, did I learn this? Did I heck? I learned about all of the names of the part of the brain and what they do. I learned about this experiment and that experiment. I learned about how to do a statistical analysis on anything you want. Did I learn that the body holds everything and that the way to experience your body is through experiencing, not thinking? No. Did the horse teach me that? After many years of holding up a mirror and saying, Cat, hun, it's here. Everything you've been looking for is here. I still didn't learn it. And it was only until a few years ago where I did a equine massage course And I was absolutely gobsmacked at the reactions in the horses when they had space to process. Because us humans are always asking something of ourselves, of our horses, of others, that we actually don't allow space for our body to experience and move things and process. And I was so shocked. I thought I'd broken. I honestly thought the horse was malfunctioning because I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And all it took was for me to not ask something and go, hey, man, what do you need? Can I be here for you? Can I listen to you? Can I offer you unconditional presence and support just for this hour or 2 hours, whether we're together? And what was happening, I've got some videos that I'm going to show you in a minute, was like an unraveling of emotions, experiences, the body doing its own healing, because our horses, they have a forebrain which does get in the way, especially if they've lived in our human world. And there's obviously traumas that block things, but actually they are far more in their body than us. And they are far more willing to go there and to not judge the experience for what's happening, for not getting their heads about why they need to roll, or why they need to shake, or why they need to itch, or why they need to bite, or something like that. And they just experience it and allow the body, the nervous system, to do its thing organically. Dawn says, Holly would either block me out or freak out if I met her with any form of high energy. Learned that lesson a long time ago, and but she immediately reminds me if I'm ever momentarily forget to just be. Yes. And Holly she literally goes, whoa, just take a breath. And I love that. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you for sharing that. And what's amazing is I didn't realize that horses could feel that deeply, even though I'd been with them my whole life, even though they'd offered me those depth of experiences. And you might have experienced that too with a dog, or, the animals that you said at the beginning. We as humans forget that other animals apart from us have perhaps an even deeper experience on this earth, because they're not in their heads, they're in their bodies. And when I saw this in the horses, it really shook me, because I was like, what are we not allowing ourselves to move through? We have so much in this world that blocks our ability for things to process, for us to let go, to become freer, to meet our mammal, to heal what needs to be held. And the only animals that experience trauma are humans, and those that we've domesticated or are in zoos, or trapped, or can't escape. Those are the only animals that actually hold trauma. How crazy is that? Because what we do, and what we have, what our, the system that we've created, is that we can't naturally live out our body's processes. We get in the way, we block them. It's not our fault. But when I'm saying we, it's not like we're choosing these things. It's very much domestication. It's very much, we don't shake it out because we look weird in the street. It's very much, we don't lash out because we'll get arrested. It's very much all those things in our body. We don't cry because it's embarrassing. And actually, what the horses taught me was, it's just being. It's just being and experiencing and processing. And that's wild. That is truly, truly wild. And I think the last few lessons I wanted to share before we move on to some videos is the one that really connects to this one is our body naturally wants to heal. If you break your leg or if you cut your arm, we don't look at it and go, trying to make it heal. It just naturally does, because our essence of who we are needs to heal. Our body has the resources to heal. And what the horses teach us is actually all we really need to do is hold ourselves in safety, and the rest will be taken care of. And that means safety in safe relationships, or allowing our bodies to feel safe enough so we can process some of the stuff that's got stuck. It means feeling seen and heard. And whenever I am in a release session with a horse, all I do is work on my nervous system regulation. And when you're in that co-regulation together, you can't help but heal. And it might be really uncomfortable, go slow. You know, that's another lesson, is healing can't be rushed and the process can't be rushed. And we are so quick to want results to the detriment of all of the things that we value, you know, actually the deep connection, all of the things that really make us us. We want to rush, we want to get to the other side. So those of you who've had horses, you know that the process of starting a young horse is often to overwhelm, to flood, to rush. And actually all that's doing is getting things stuck. And what do we do with us? We rush, we overwhelm, we flood, we get stuck. So actually really valuing that slow is the work. Presence is the work. And in that, we can't help but heal. Amazing, guys. Shake it out, take a deep breath. I hope you're enjoying this so far. And the final lesson that I wanted to share with you is you are enough as a soul, as a being. And the horses, they will never, they might say you need to learn more. They might hold a mirror up and say, hey, are you ready to look? Because they know that you're enough. And they know that there's things on the surface that you're carrying that you don't need to hold on to anymore, that aren't actually you. And that is why they hold us there and are our greatest teachers, because they show you a mirror into all that you are and all that you are not. And who are we outside the cages that we put for ourselves? Who are we underneath it all? And what does it feel like to be truly seen by a being that experiences the world completely different and yet completely the same as us? And even just being in their presence helps us regulate it. We match our heart rate together. It is like being held in the highest regard with, it's like you're in the moment and that's all that matters. And who are you in that moment? And that, I feel like when I'm with horses, it's the only time that I feel truly there, that you know that that's all that counts right now is you and the horse and what you're doing together. And I hope that these lessons landed with you and helped remind you of something that you may have lost along the way, but was always within you. perhaps it has encouraged you to see yourself in a slightly different way and maybe to embrace some things that help you meet your mammal and nurture your mammal and help you live the life that you deserve, that is not about putting yourself in boxes, but it's about being wild. And I want you to comment in the chat the word that's coming to mind. So type it out, don't send it yet. And I'm going to say 3, 2, 1, and then we're all going to see what we've put. By the way, no pressure. Vicky's like, oh my God. Purity, free, inspired. We are enough. I love it. Yes, send. Love, free. I love it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ah, amazing. So I've got a few videos I want to share with you, and then we've got an exciting invitation. And yeah, we're going to hear from beautiful Vicky. So I'm just going to share my screen briefly. Where is the button? Share screen. Here we go. Okay. So, 1 second, guys. Let me actually figure out what I'm doing. So this, I just wanted to show you an example of a release session where all I did, this is not special, by the way, this is just a exchange between, well, it is special to me, but it's simply what happens when two souls, that co-regulation between you creates a safe space for vulnerability, for your defense systems turning off. And this particular horse, he's my friend's horse, he's so beautiful. And I just focused on feeling safe within me and breathing and letting him know that I hear him. And what happened was he felt safe enough to lie down and let go. And this is a horse who has previously felt really disconnected, really shy, I guess is a really nice word for putting it. He didn't feel like humans could really see him. He kind of froze a lot. He felt very skeptical of humans. And actually sharing this interaction with him was such a reminder of the power that you hold within your body of your mammal. This is mammal to mammal. This is not thinking brain to mammal. This is totally being in the experience. And this is little Jacobine. And how they can be so curious. And look how physically he's processing this joy. That exploration, that curiosity, that connection. And this is my girl, Indy. This is her healing. And it's the only time she's ever lent into it, really. Love it, Lauren. She's really just choosing to let go. Awesome. And I'm just going to share one more. 1 second. Let me get the right page up. Which is a session I did with a horse a few days ago. Just figure this out. And I just wanted you to see, he was really traumatized, this horse. And we were having a we were having a healing session, and this horse, can everyone see that? So you can see in him, hang on, he always needed to bite and defend. There was so much resistance, so much defensiveness, that actually underneath it all was that mammal in him that just wanted to be seen. And just offering that connection, getting in touch with that safety, just helped him really let go and start to process some of the stuff that humans had put on him. He'll really dip into it in a minute. You can see his resistance to it. There we go. Because it goes beyond words, guys. And how visceral is that experience in his body? And what does your body want to let go of too? Awesome. Amazing. Oh, thank you, Maria. It's such, honestly, it's the horses, they just, oh, bless us with so much. Okay, so thank you so, so much for being here, for your time, for your attention, for your shares. And for those of you who feel like it really, really, really resonated with you, Vicky, actually, let's start with your share first. I'd love to hear from you and just introduce the amazing work that you do and some of the experiences that you've had with horses and humans.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, thanks, Kat. Thanks for letting me come on tonight. So I am a horse course facilitator, and I am essentially an equine therapist. And what we do with the horses is, I think, slightly different to what people's interpretation of an equine therapist is, in that we work a lot on what Kat has mentioned tonight, and what Kat does with people and their horses. Um, and rather than it being another talk therapy or like the Igala and other methods where you're with the horse and you see what comes up for you, with the horse course, we actually look at the horses, and then quite often that mirror comes up, and then we realize that actually by looking at the horse, we're looking at ourselves. And what we do is we play games with the horses. I think quite a few of you may do a bit natural horsemanship if you've got horses here, and especially if you've been working with Cat, I'm sure you do a little bit of natural horsemanship. And we teach some groundwork skills with the horses, and in doing that, we take moments to watch the horses process and see that actually we're so blessed to watch a horse show us signs that they process, because we as humans, as Kat said, don't take that time to process. We don't take that time to go, actually now I just need a moment. Whereas actually by just watching the horse's body language, they do. And we need to take that time. So there's so many lessons like this that come up through just playing groundwork games with the horses. We have 8 core resilience skills that we work on, like from assertiveness through to being calm and breathing techniques, watching how the horses belly breathe, which Kat again is brilliant at, and then how we don't always belly breathe, but also watching the horses when they get up and their energy, and they're in flight on flight, and we see their pec muscles engage and how that brings adrenaline to their body. And actually, quite often we'll spend most of our lives up here, and we can see that actually the horses go there, but they learn to go there when they need to. Whereas we go there and we get stuck and we're up here all day, and then life gets busier and busier and busier. Where by watching the horses, like they'll go into that fight or flight, we give them space, and then we can watch them come back down. And that space might be a minute, it might be 20 minutes, but it's rarely that long, and they'll be back down to belly breathing. Whereas for us humans, we get up there and we'll be up there for days, months, don't even
Yes.
realize. Um, and then we look at the different personalities of the horses as well. So we make sure that we don't put what we're doing with each horse um like Kat said earlier, into a box. Like we learn this and then we do that. And it should equal this result. And we can see like the different waves of personalities that come up in the horses in different circumstances. So again, we're not going to say, right, this horse is, so one of them is an experimenter. And if you have a horse that likes to play and has quite a high play drive, that might be their go-to, that they're an experimenter when they're in the green, when they're in, like as Kat said, when they're feeling in their safety zone, um, they might be free to be an experimenter. But that doesn't mean that they can also be a doer and get busy doing stuff, or a bonder. That it doesn't mean just because they're an experimenter that they can't have that relationship with with other horses. And so we kind of show people through playing with the horses, we bring their attention to this. And suddenly it's like talking about a doer, a horse that's busy looking for the next task. And it's like, are you talking about the horse or are you talking about the human? Who's looking for the next task, wants to do like what's next, what's next, what's next? Um, and then we look at the horses when they're not in safety and what that might look like. And like some of them can be like a bit resistant, or at sometimes like my horse, one of my horses, Paddy, is very good at sometimes going, nah, just make me, just make me. And he'll like be in resistor mode. But sometimes he can be in what we called hider mode, and he can be like frozen. And that can look very similar to resistor. So we look at the tiny little bits of body language that we can see whether they're being a bit resistant or whether they just need us to just chill out and take time with them, and what techniques we can use to help them get back in the green, get back to their safety. And then again, it's like sometimes we can be a bit resistant, and so what do we need to get back in the green? And sometimes like I can be really good at hiding. So what do I need to get back in the green and not be that horse on the edge of the herd that's so good at not being seen, can be invisible? Um, and then the Fulsa, like I'm sure I know sometimes I can be like, my opinion is the only opinion, and I'm going to force that upon you. And just like sometimes some horses like can be, actually, we're going to go and eat the grass over there, and you're coming with me whether you like it or not. And so there's that crossover between, are you talking about the horse, are you talking about the human? And it really, really trickles into everything Kat said about actually we're all just a bunch of nervous systems, all navigating the world, and can be different at any given moment. And somehow, especially if for those horsey people out here, you'll forgive your horse if you think they've been a little bit of a false or a resistor, and you'll be like, actually, do you know what? That was just them in that moment. But for us, we're not allowed to show that. We have to put a lid on it. And actually accepting that, as Kat said, we are enough, and that um, we are just mammals navigating the world like everything else. Um, yeah.
Love that.
Do
That's
you, want,
awesome.
do you want me to carry on? I don't know.
That was amazing. And yeah, and we wanted to create a day that really spoke to that in you. And if if any of this feels like it resonates with you, or you feel like you want to spend some time, I know a lot of you have horses already, and it still might be a day that you might love, but we wanted to put an invitation, and it is just an invitation to we wanted to create a day which is about meeting your wild and just pressing that pause button and allowing yourself to come back to who you really are, even if it's just for that, those moments with the horses. And we're going to bring two of Vicky's beautiful horses, Jack and Paddy. Some of you may already know them. And just spending the day together, and we'll talk through a lot of this stuff and really bring it into the moment, into fruition, into reality, and allowing yourself to meet your mammal, meet your wild, and just, yeah, see what is there for you to discover. So it's such an open invitation. There's only a few places because we wanted to keep it really, small and vulnerable and safe. And yeah, so if that sounds like something that would be magical for you, please do, reach out, and we can send you all the details. It's in April. So yeah, we just wanted to put that invitation out there for you all on this call, on the back of this. So, but yeah, we want to say thank you so much. And I'm so conscious that we're over time, but so if you need to pop off, please do. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to unmute or put your hand up, and we'll happily answer them. But if you need to go, then thank you so much for being here. But yeah, does anyone have any questions? Awesome. Everyone's probably got a lot to process. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, for taking the time, and we're just sending so much love to you. And yeah, may these lessons land exactly how they're meant to. Your pleasure, Hayley. And yeah, take time to process, drink lots of water, move, have a dance. And thank you, Hayley. I say hi to Mr. Django Bean as well. What a little legend. So yeah, have an amazing evening, everybody, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye, guys. Pleasure, Louise.